In a secluded corner of America's Midwest, where vast cornfields stretched to the horizon and old red brick houses painted a picture of a tranquil community, lay the small town of Greenville. Life in this town was slow-paced, as if the wheels of time paused here for a rest. Greenville's main attractions were its agricultural economy and the simple lives of its people. In the heart of Greenville, at a busy intersection, stood a small cafe named the Morning Cup. The cafe was the town's only touch of modernity, where the aroma of coffee would spread through the air as soon as the first rays of morning light appeared. The owner of this cafe was Elizabeth Murphy, a young woman with indomitable dreams in her eyes and an iron will in her heart. Elizabeth's parents were Irish immigrants, who had come to this country hoping to fulfill the American dream despite countless adversities. They taught Elizabeth the mantra of hard work, honesty, and never giving up on her dreams. Their daily struggles left a deep impression on Elizabeth. She had seen how her parents started a new life with meager capital, and how every small success brought smiles to their faces. Elizabeth's childhood was spent in the peaceful environment of Greenville, where she grew up amidst nature, and listening to her parents' stories, the seeds of big dreams were sown in her heart. Elizabeth's dream was to transform her small cafe not just into Greenville's best, but into an iconic establishment. She wanted her cafe to be more than just a coffee and pastry shop. She envisioned it as a warm sanctuary for the town's people, where they could forget the day's fatigue, share their stories, discuss new ideas, or simply enjoy the small pleasures of life with a cup of hot coffee. Her dream extended far beyond the boundaries of Greenville. She believed that even a small cafe could influence a town's culture and bring people together. However, Greenville was a conservative town. Its people were accustomed to old habits and were reluctant to embrace anything new. They preferred to frequent their familiar coffee shops or diners. Elizabeth's modern design and new coffee flavors seemed somewhat unfamiliar to them. Consequently, the cafe remained largely empty. Most of the day, the cafe was deserted, and Elizabeth often faced losses. Her friends, who had moved to bigger cities from Greenville, would often call her and say, "Elizabeth, why are you struggling so much? Your dreams have no value in Greenville. Find a better job, move to a big city." But Elizabeth was not one to give up. She had an indomitable determination in her eyes and the desire to fulfill the American dream taught by her parents. She knew that behind every great success lay countless small failures and relentless effort. She believed that one day her hard work would surely pay off. Elizabeth woke up at 4 a.m. every day. Greenville was still asleep, but the aroma of roasting coffee beans would already be spreading through Elizabeth's cafe. She personally sourced the best quality coffee beans and roasted them to perfection. She experimented with new recipes to ensure her coffee's taste was unparalleled. The specialty of her cafe was her homemade Maple Pecan Scones and Greenville Blend coffee. These scones were her mother's old recipe, which she had modernized slightly. Each scone carried the taste of Greenville's local maple syrup and fresh pecan nuts. These two products were the heart and soul of her cafe. Despite all her hard work, the cafe remained empty. Elizabeth often sat alone, sipping coffee and contemplating her dreams. She knew the quality of her products was exceptional, but how to reach people was her biggest challenge. She participated in local fairs, distributed free coffee and scones, but it didn't yield much success. Frustration would try to engulf her, but her inner resilience always pushed her forward. She would think to herself, "One day, people will understand the true value of my coffee and scones." One winter morning, when Greenville was covered in a white blanket of snow, a stranger entered the cafe. He was dressed in an expensive wool suit, carried a leather briefcase, and had a keen gaze. He was Mr. Jonathan Harrison, a renowned food critic from Chicago, and an influential blogger. He was driving from New York to Los Angeles, and an unusual coffee aroma, as he passed through Greenville, had drawn him into the Morning Cup Cafe. He usually didn't stop at small-town cafes, but this aroma had compelled him. Mr. Harrison was captivated by Elizabeth's Greenville Blend coffee and Maple Pecan Scones. With every sip of coffee and every bite of scone, he experienced an extraordinary taste. He spoke with Elizabeth and was even more impressed by her hard work, her dreams, and the story behind her cafe. Elizabeth told him about her parents' struggles and her dreams for Greenville. Mr. Harrison realized that this young woman not only possessed business acumen, but also had a big heart and a noble purpose. Before leaving, he handed Elizabeth his card and said, "Your coffee and scones are exceptional. I will write a review about your cafe when I return to Chicago. I hope it brings some change for you." Elizabeth initially couldn't believe Mr. Harrison's words. She thought he was just being polite. Why would a famous critic from Chicago write a review about a small-town cafe like Greenville's? But a week later, Mr. Harrison's review was published in a prominent Chicago newspaper. The review was titled, "Greenville's Hidden Gem, The Morning Cup, A Dreamer's Coffee Empire." He highly praised Elizabeth's coffee, scones, and the warm ambience of her cafe. He wrote, "This small cafe in Greenville doesn't just sell coffee, it sells dreams." Elizabeth Murphy, this young woman, has infused her love and hard work into every cup of coffee and every scone. It's not just a cafe, it's a living example of the American dream. This review created a stir not only in Greenville, but across America. After Mr. Harrison's review was published, Greenville's landscape changed. Initially, people from the town started visiting the cafe out of curiosity. They wanted to see how Elizabeth's familiar cafe had become so famous. Then, people from surrounding towns also began to come to taste Elizabeth's coffee and scones. On weekends, long queues would form outside the cafe. The Morning Cup Cafe was now always bustling with customers. Elizabeth had to hire new employees and expand the size of the cafe. She rented an empty shop next to her cafe, made it larger, and added more tables and chairs. The cafe had now become a major attraction in Greenville. Elizabeth never forgot Mr. Harrison's contribution to her success. She traveled to Chicago to thank him. Mr. Harrison was even more impressed by Elizabeth's humility. He advised Elizabeth to expand her business further. He said, "Elizabeth, the quality of your products is exceptional. You should make them accessible to more people. You can't stay confined to Greenville, you need to dream bigger." He also gave Elizabeth some crucial business strategies and marketing tips, which proved invaluable to her. Elizabeth took Mr. Harrison's advice seriously. She considered selling her coffee beans and scone recipes online. She wanted the taste of her coffee and scones to reach every home in America. However, she lacked sufficient capital. Starting an online business required a significant amount of money, which could not be raised from the meager income of her cafe. She tried to get a loan from banks, but no one was willing to lend easily to a small-town cafe owner. Bank managers told her, "Your idea is good, but your business has no track record. We cannot give you such a large loan." Although disappointed, Elizabeth did not give up. She knew that such obstacles would come, but she had to overcome them. Elizabeth did not give up. She remembered another important lesson from her parents: when one door closes, another opens. She transformed a small part of her cafe into a mini-lab. There, she further refined her coffee bean roasting method and discovered new ways to extend the shelf life of her scones. She knew that to sell products online, they needed to stay fresh for a long time. She spent many sleepless nights researching, studying the use of various chemicals, to naturally preserve her products. She contacted a professor from the local university's food science department and received much valuable advice. She designed beautiful packaging for her coffee beans and scones and named them Greenville Goodies. The packaging featured images of Greenville's cornfields and sunrises, highlighting the town's heritage. Each package bore the inscription, "Greenville's love, on your table." She initially started supplying her products to local grocery stores in Greenville. People loved her products. In a short time, Greenville Goodies became a well-known brand in Greenville. Now, Greenville Goodies products could be found in every store in the town. Elizabeth then decided to sell her products online. She created a simple website that showcased her cafe story, the uniqueness of her products, and Greenville's heritage. She listed her products there. Sales were low initially, but gradually people learned about the quality of her products and started placing orders. Mr. Harrison wrote a post about Greenville Goodies online store on his blog, which instantly boosted traffic to Elizabeth's website. Her products also started gaining traction on social media. People began posting about Greenville Goodies, sharing their experiences. They wrote, "Greenville's coffee and scones are amazing. It's like a piece of Greenville's love." Elizabeth's online business grew rapidly. She involved her cafe staff in packaging and shipping online orders, allowing them to be part of success. Greenville Goodies continued to grow in popularity. A year later, a national food magazine, Food and Flavors, featured Elizabeth's cafe and her products. The magazine hailed Elizabeth as the small-town hero and presented her story as the new American dream. Following this feature, Greenville Goodies became a national brand overnight. Major American supermarket chains like Walmart, Target, and Whole Foods approached Elizabeth for contracts. Elizabeth's products were now available across America. Elizabeth transformed her cafe into a large factory. She provided employment to many unemployed people in Greenville. Her factory revitalized Greenville's economy. Greenville was no longer just a small town. It became known as the birthplace of Greenville Goodies. The mayor of Greenville declared Elizabeth an honorary citizen of the town and presented her with the key to the city. Elizabeth was now not just a successful businesswoman, she was Greenville's pride. Elizabeth had reached the pinnacle of her success. But she never forgot her roots. She bought corn and other raw materials from local farmers in Greenville, ensuring their financial improvement. She provided scholarships to schools in Greenville so that children from the village could pursue higher education. She knew that her success was not just her own, it was the success of every person in Greenville. She established a foundation in her parents' name, which covered the educational expenses of underprivileged students in Greenville and helped them fulfill their dreams. Elizabeth regularly visited schools in Greenville, talked to students, and inspired them. Elizabeth's story is a living example of the American dream. It proves that with hard work, indomitable will, innovative spirit, and a commitment to society, any dream can be fulfilled. The Morning Cup Cafe in Greenville is now a historic site, where people come to hear Elizabeth's success story. Pictures of Elizabeth's parents hang on the cafe walls, reminding her of her roots. The cafe has now been transformed into a museum, where Elizabeth's first coffee machine, her handwritten recipe book, and Mr. Harrison's review are carefully preserved. Elizabeth still wakes up at 4 a.m. every day. She goes to her factory, works on new recipes. The same dream is still in her eyes, and the same determination is still in her heart. She wants her Greenville Goodies to be known not only in America, but all over the world. She is now working on new products, such as organic tea, healthy snacks, etc. Her journey inspires every person in Greenville, reminding them not to be afraid to dream, because dreams are the driving force of life. Elizabeth's story is like a beacon of light that shows the right path to those lost in the dark and reminds them that within every small town and every ordinary person lies an extraordinary story that can one day become an epic. Her story will be told from generation to generation in Greenville, teaching them to dream and inspiring them to pursue those dreams.